What's up, y'all? What's up, Ellie? What's up, Bondia? What's up, David? Or says working on a new live stream. That's cool. Oh, live stream podcast. That's cool too. So, I'm pretty sleepy, but the moon peeked out for a few, so I figured I'd go live. That's my excuse every time. I always check before I go to bed. I'm like, is it clear? Should I stream? And I like when the answer is yes. It's definitely nice and spooky clouds tonight. What up, Chow Yum Cat? So it's pretty nice clarity if it just clears a little bit more. What is it? It's a waning gibbous, of course, 72.9% illuminated. About 15 degrees altitude, so it's still rising. And check out this airplane coming right across. Look at that, crazy. Let's see if it produces a lunar wave of sorts. Couldn't ask for a more precise crossing. Boom. What's up, Genghis Khan? How's it going? What's up, Starlight Spectrum? This is exactly what I needed. This is exactly what I needed. Although I could also lay down. My shoulders are pretty sore. Moving these scopes around really does a number on you the day after, you know? So yesterday was a pretty long stream, and I was crouching, moving around that 6-inch, trying to get it scoped up for the second half of the show. It's pretty funny. Yeah, what up there, Light Moon? Actually, I'm gonna speak a little lower. I realize it is so loud on the recording. Let me know if that sounds a little bit more balanced. I do it because I hear myself better in the headphones, but I'd like to not be overly loud. Nice solid mix if possible. Ellie saying, was sitting finally, long ass day. Glad you made a stop by for Moonage and chat music. Hell yeah. Always. I've queued up a couple of tracks I haven't played before, some rock and roll, and keep it lively to start. I'm gonna try and do a slightly shorter show. I'll talk to you in 3 hours. No, like maybe an hour and a half. Hopefully we'll stay clear. I'm gonna get myself situated. And yeah, just another one. I was looking at the Chandrayaan 2 again tonight, trying to see if we could see any pictures from them inserting the craft into lunar orbit. But alas, yet another opportunity lost, and no photos or footage from the latest Earth-Moon mission. Anyway, the lament continues. Seems like it's clearing a little bit. Still, the clouds are just rolling through. It looks really awesome outside, actually. Like I'm sitting on a movie set. And people are triggering clouds. Sometimes it's theatrical to the point of absurdity. Yeah, it won't be too bad. Saturn is going to be actually easier to get because it'll be rising later. Is it later? No, it's going to be rising earlier, I think. yeah, Saturn is rising earlier and earlier, and then Jupiter will be setting, so we'll kind of lose those views of Jupiter, but I think Saturn will be kind of nice to get in the evenings, especially on some clear days during October, November. And then what's interesting tonight is that it's not clear enough, but directly to the left of the moon is Uranus, and I've never really been able to try it on the 11. So we'll see. Maybe it'll be clear enough to kind of scoot over there. It's as easy as you could probably get in terms of aligning it to Uranus from this position. So we shall see, perhaps. All right, Ellie Wynn, it's your birthday now or tomorrow? Either way, my gift to you is a view of space, and your choice of song. But yeah, this is our time. I was watching some cool videos today, but nothing with real moon footage in it. Lots of science and not a lot of actual footage. I had all these links pulled up and then I reset Chrome, so whatever, I'm just gonna wing it. I'm just gonna chill tonight and just vibe on our celestial partner. That's gonna get flagged for sure. No covers, damn it. Let's see. Oh, so it's tomorrow. Sweet. Starlight is saying, that's relieving to hear about the planets. I'm just being a baby and have grown up very attached to planet Jupiter. I totally understand. It's really funny though, because last year when I was looking at Stellarium and pushing ahead, you know, fast forwarding through the dates, I was looking forward to this time and I can't believe it's already August. Last, like, I don't know, what is it, like December? When I couldn't see Jupiter at all. It was like up at 4 in the morning and I was like, nah, there's no way I'm gonna get Jupiter. I was like, when is Jupiter gonna be really visible? And I fast forwarded to like this month or last month really. And I was like, man, it's gonna be so long before you get to see Jupiter, and then it's already passed. It's crazy. So just go into your favorite celestial software like Stellarium or whatever, punch in a date and like zoom in and see when your next planets are gonna be visible. I think what's cool is probably Orion is coming up in the east, I think early in the morning, and it's going to start rising earlier and earlier, so go back to shooting M42 and trying to get some more nebula shots. That would be fun. Light Moon asked me, why are planets round-shaped? I think it's almost like the geometry, the intrinsic inherent geometry of nature is such that things grow out like from a dot into smaller, small spheres, and they grow outwards. And sometimes the spheres will kind of hit another sphere, and in that case they'll create like bordering walls that sometimes turn those spheres into simpler geometry, like platonics, like pentagons or hexagons, octagons, etc. Another reason is that it's probably the strongest form in nature. Think about, something flat that you can cut versus a sphere or a ball that is very difficult to cut. So the smallest form in nature is probably something that is atomos, which is almost uncuttable, indivisible, is the object that we know as a sphere, really, as a ball. And of course these balls are not, these balls ain't perfect. These spheres are not perfect. Of course they're being pulled and stretched, so it's not perfect spheres. But it would seem that objects actually grow out in spheres. However, one thing to note is that a sphere is not actually its own shape, right? Every circle and every sphere is pretty much made of tiny straight lines, all connected by dots. So if you reduce the resolution on a sphere, ultimately you'll end up with a tetrahedron, or an octahedron or a dodecahedron. The more detail you add to the lines, the more dots you add to the sphere, the smoother it gets. And that's why you see, the moon from a distance and it looks so smooth, but the edge is not smooth really at all. It's actually made of very short, flat lines, or like straight lines. So there's no real sphere, it's actually just ultimately points and lines, or potatoes. Starlight saying, I've seen Orion already and it's been showing up around 5:40 and remains till 6. Yeah, like that's a tough time to shoot nebula. I mean, you can still do it, but the sun is coming up so quickly right after it that it kind of washes it out a little bit. You kind of want Orion to come up around 2, 3 a.m. to really get that distance from the sunlight. What's going on, Kimberly? How you doing? A little bit of a freaky moon. You see it's clearing ever so slowly. I can barely speak tonight. Total meltdown on the brain. Been working all day, and then I was like about to go to bed. I was like, all right, let me just check outside. And of course, got a little glimpse of it, and I'm always tempted to go live. What's up, 24/7 live Arizona skies? Shout out to you. All right, more tunes. More chills. Oh yeah, the Epcot Center, right? Or if you've ever researched Buckminster Fuller, like a buckyball, you see that really spheres are kind of made up of geodesic shapes. And you just add more resolution. It's like fractals, right? So at a certain resolution, a sphere looks very smooth. And I think that's truly what it is. So crystal lattices are inherent geometry in nature. So everything is born, or at least is birthed into this conscious reality in that geometric shape, in those geometric shapes. And I've linked, if you look in my liked videos, there's this Alan Holden from 1958, growing crystals in a laboratory, and you can kind of see what it really looks like if you've ever tried to make a crystal, or if you've ever seen a video of people growing crystals. Just watch that under the microscope and then look at the lunar craters side by side, and you see like where the geometry matches. It's very simple, or it's simplex, as Tattooed Monkey would put it. More jams. What's going on, Easy E? Sacred geometry, certainly.
If you want life, don't cling, don't cling. Let go, let go. How can I desire not to desire? How can I surrender myself when myself is precisely an urge to hold on, to cling to life, to continue to survive? I may be like a person who has a bad habit, as a result of which he is committing suicide. He knows that, but can't give it up, because the means of death are so sweet. The way the world actually is an enormously complex, interrelated organism. People undergoing shock, people locked in the colorless, monotonous corridors of mental institute. If you want life, don't cling, don't cling. Is that if you are really aware of your own inner workings, we didn't have some campaign to have an improved brain. When you see that there's nothing else, there's nothing else.
What's up, y'all? Welcome, eat all your fish. What's up, Kimberly? Maybe I said what's up, Kimberly, earlier. Yeah, it got really humid all of a sudden, and there are big set of clouds that just moved in, so I'll have to be patient. I don't know, I see a request for Pink Floyd. I'm always tempted, but lately I haven't been doing covers because of the YouTube copyright stuff. It's always annoying to get ads on these videos. Lately, just because I don't do it, I get all these videos don't have ads, which is great. It's a pretty simple thing, just avoid it. Some guitar jams. sure I got the volume set. So when I was listening last night, I think I was a little bit loud on the guitar. It felt like it was distorting a bunch. So I want to make sure, testing it tonight, I'm getting most of the levels correct. Slipping off the chair, falling off my chair. So the clouds are certainly thick, keeping us moody, keeping the vibe going. you best. We'll float. The storm is coming, baby. Yeah. Everyone who loves you, loves you, loves you, loves you, loves you best. We'll float. Formidable opponent, angry lecture. Formidable opponent, you can walk out. Formidable opponent, formidable opponent, think you have the choice. Formidable opponent, dangerous lecture. Formidable opponent, angry crackpot. Formidable opponent, you can walk out. Formidable opponent, think you have the choice. The moon is calling, a souvenir. As soon as rescue, a little near. We're fixing the phone, mixing your liquids, now you're left for dead. Just pay your debt. The moon is calling, a souvenir. As soon as rescue, la retourner. I'm fixing the phone, mixing your liquids, now you're left for dead. Just pay your debts when you float. When you float. When you float. Formidable opponent, angry lecture. Formidable opponent, dangerous crackpot. Formidable opponent, you can walk out. Formidable opponent, think you have the choice. Formidable opponent, formidable opponent, formidable opponent, or you can walk out. Formidable opponent, think you have the choice. It's a common story when your heart was left broken by industry. It's a common myth that you have no more power, but it's all your own imagination. We go living. Life is worth dying for, and on we keep giving so much that we can't feel no more. Beside myself, I want, I do. Try and be smooth. The camera don't cooperate. Yeah, so let me know if the mix is sounding okay. If there's anything like distorting when I go loud. Down the street, and she waited on the corner while I locked up the truck. Hey, you need a fix, babe? I said, no luck, no different ways, struggling days. I can't even remember my own face. Oh, I was the one that stole the silver key. something you can't feel. There's no harm in trying different ways, struggling days. Oh, you can't even remember your own face. Said I was the one that stole the silver key, but the truth is, God, you were the one that said you'd slay the bees, and it's all around you. Oh, and it's all around you. And it's all around you. It's all around you. Some more Jello, please. You always need more Jello, please. It's the best name to write to. It's got the right amount of syllables. More Jello, please. Every night there's a song. Every night we get along in a space dream. Oh yeah, this space stream. Oh yeah. Every night we get along. Every night I sing some weird songs on the space stream. This space stream. This space stream. Just chasing you, chasing with you. All we gotta do is be patient. Chasing the view of the best review you can give is your patience, your patience, your. I know you sent me a note. I know you sent me an email. I know you sent me a note. I've had a really busy day. I'll check it a little bit later. From my dream. From my dream. From my dream. I got 4 audio sources now, 5 going at once. Well, I got 4 audio sources now, 5 right live. All right, smoke break time. Refresh those brain cells, those little hexagonal brain cells. Damn, is it that cloudy? Seriously? It's like on the space stream. What do we got? Here's one that I haven't played in a while. lifting up my gills down to the surface. White wizard into the blackness we break. Fly your blue heart to cast all those shadows away. White wizard into the blackness we trade. Fly, young sweetheart, in the hopes of the shadows vibrate. I keep on pulling myself back from the edge, but I got nothing real to say for myself. But I'm sorry, oh babe, I'm not sorry. I keep on pulling you back from the edge, but I got nothing to say or defend myself. So I'm sorry, oh man, I'm not really sorry. I keep on pulling myself back from the edge, but I got nothing real to say for myself. But I'm sorry, oh babe, I'm not sorry. I keep on pulling you back from the edge, but I got nothing to say or defend for myself. So I'm sorry, man, I'm not really sorry. Ooh, white wizard into the blackness we break. Fly your blue heart to cast all the shadows away. Oh, white wizard into the darkness we trade. Fly, young sweetheart, in the host of the shadows vibrate. Yeah, yo, just crazy dark clouds moved in, and I'm just gonna be patient for a little bit. Let's see if it tides over. If it doesn't clear in a couple of minutes, I'll switch to a pre-recorded shot, but it looks like it's moving, so I'm just gonna be patient. Playing a little bit of Light of the Moon version 2 over here. Space treaties. Honestly, I should go make myself a space treat. Speaking of which, Ellie Wynn says black bread and crater butter. That sounds really good, actually. What is the blackness from the bread? Is it like pumpernickel, or is it activated charcoal bread, or black sesame bread, or what is it? Toasted barley bread and crater butter. That could be shavings from volcanic ash thrown into some Amish goat lamb hybrid butter. Getting weird cosmic recipes up in here. Michael Wise makes a mention of nukes, says, yeah, but there's been several hundred nukes set off in space. So the stuff that maybe you're talking about is the Operation Fishbowl and Starfish and the 40s, 50s South Pacific high altitude nuclear tests. Those are really some of the most tragic things that have ever happened. They must have just really messed with the sky and the balance in the ionosphere. I think a lot of the references to cracking the sky and the hole in the ozone are probably directly due to these particular experiments. I wonder what the long-term damage is. You think about how few people really know about it. You know, your fish says, who's this treaty with? Please don't say the Galactic Space Federation. They're not people, Morty. They're not real. That's pretty funny. I think Rick and Morty did the best version of that for sure. When the bugs took over. Amish human animal hybrid butter. Okay, it's getting disgusting. It's getting dark. Let's see. Stop interrupting me. Ellie Wynn says activated charcoal butter, but tastes like pumpernickel. It's pretty nasty. Activated charcoal seems great, but I don't not to eat maybe. Love and spaceships. All is fair in love and spaceship. Love and rockets. No, I know there's this whole Space Force thing, but it's just so crazy. Like, and then there are also no-fly zones on the moon. Like, who's enforcing that? I thought it's really impossible to get things to the moon. Further, like I lamented it at the top of the show, but again, one more night referencing the Chandrayaan-2 Indian ISRO mission to the moon, and still no photos, but somehow it achieved lunar orbit. And they keep, you know, putting out these press releases that say, space agency says craft did such and such a thing, and then tons and tons of, you know, thumbs up and comments, and not a single photo, and it's just pure insanity to me. It's absolutely like an episode that Rod Serling would write, where the person at the center of the show, of the Twilight Zone episode, would just be like, just seeing how insane it all looked from the outside, and just everyone thought it was fine, that there were no photos. Ellie Wynn says, kick butt pumpernickel with make you cry butter. Just killing it tonight, I love it. 24/7 saying, everyone who walked on the surface, they knew they were being watched. There are several different species working with us. You know, I'm a little bit off, I've gotten off that bandwagon a little bit. I think the last thing I really watched was Corey Goode and David Wilcock talk about the mission to Mars, where they met people, or at least Corey Goode went on the mission and saw, you know, camps with actual humans on Mars. But I don't know, man. When you really listen to them talk about it, you're like, did you not look back at Earth at all? Did you not? It's the same problem I have with the astronauts who come back, and the press conference is the most dull, like, it's just the craziest thing listening to the Apollo 11 astronauts give a press conference. It's like they're on trial for something. And most people were like, no, they were, you know, stiff upper lip, good old boys, so they had it down. They were like, they're professionals. I'm like, but they went to the moon. It's so crazy. It's crazy, crazy town. Crazy times we live in, people. Moon simulator? I don't know if the moon's a simulation, honestly. I think it's cooler, like, I mean, they're all cool stories, but Hollow Moon and Hollow Planets is something that I never thought would end up being like legitimate physical science, but there is physical science that shows that the moon could very well be hollow. And then you have, so if you have a hollow moon that's electrical and magnetic, right? And you've got an unknown date of origin and creation of the moon. I think there's so much to discover already on top of all the geometry and the different events. So the moon, like at its face value, just with like a few pieces, is one of the most interesting things to study beyond any other type of conspiracy like aliens or Apollo or anything like that. Just at face value, like it's crazy. So that's what I think. But man, if somebody had the projection, like the holographic projector that could project a moon for all of Earth people to see, and it was consistent, that's probably such high-level technology that they kind of deserve to keep everybody in the dark. I'm in awe. It's gone past the conspiracy point. It's like, wow, that's really impressive. You know, Eddie Izzard made a great joke once. He said, you kill a few people, they really get on your case, but you kill 100,000 people, it's like, oh, damn, that's really impressive. You must get up really early and start killing real early. Pretty fucking hilarious. This is good. Yeah, but so Corey Goode and David Wilcock had this whole thing, and they were talking about going to Mars from a jump gate. And I don't know, that stuff just fizzled out, and I don't see how that ended up being like. I just don't know where that goes. It's very hard to prove. It's very hard to kind of even hang your hat on, because I don't know, that their reactions don't seem correct. David Wilcock's reaction to people's questions doesn't seem correct. His writing seems interesting, but then when you hear the way he responds to people, it's just like he's on this other planet. You know, if he doesn't like what you ask him, he won't respond to you. And then Corey Goode is hard to get a hold of and hard to get a read on. You got Graham Hancock, who has an audience, but really doesn't fully embrace an alternative science like plasma cosmology. You have all the ancient aliens people who really are not talking about anything really realistic. Should I keep ranting about the state of our culture? Or is that enough? We got a foggy moon, so I can't really talk about any features except blobs. They love money, right? It says Light Moon about Corey Goode. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I'm not sure if they're making that much money, but I certainly know that, like, if I got to whoa, sorry about that. Damn it. Whoa. Chill. Alright, sorry about that, everybody. That's that damn guitar cable acting all. Hope I didn't blow everybody's eardrums out. Yeah, who else? Stephen Greer. Like, where's Stephen Greer right now? Where's Disclosure? Where's, what's his name? The other Stephen something from the disclosureproject.net. And then you have Drunvalo Melchizedek. Anybody know Drunvalo? Or follow his stuff, where he's like, we're on the cusp of a new age and everybody's going to wake up. At least he's a little bit plasma cosmology. I went back and checked, and he definitely talks about it a little bit. But there's so much obfuscation and just never saying directly what people think. You know, it's always dancing around this point of the ancients said so-and-so and so, and blah, blah, blah said so-and-so and so, but so little footage and actual testing or experimentation, which is why, you know, I love people like Halton Arp and Tesla and these people who actually were not only hypothesizing and theorizing, but actually did experiments themselves in a laboratory. I think that's way more impressive. Yeah, Light Moon says, every year, same story. It was the same thing. I started with the Mars rovers, or no, was it the Mars rovers? It was the Mars rovers and the Large Hadron Collider. I was like, man, these are amazing, so cool. I can't wait till this stuff happens. And then the Large Hadron Collider happened, and they're like, well, it's going to be about 5 years before anything really real happens. And then Mars missions, like, well, it's going to be like 6 years before they actually reach Mars, and we'll see if they even land. And now we're sitting, 10 years, 15 years past both these events, and what do we really have besides just these really sensationalist, made-up... That came out of nowhere. That was an old track. Very, very old track. Never played before, and never shall be played again. Eat all your fish says, lol, I've seen a lot of that, dude. You're talking about Drunvalo Melchizedek. He sounds pretty smart. I mean, some of the stuff really, can get you sold on it, especially the people who, before I understood the idea of Zen meditation and all of that sort of stuff, I kind of looked up at people who were able to sit and meditate and had this idea of enlightenment in mind. And I thought it was this practice of really mostly meditation and isolation, but you realize that it can happen in any type of way, and you realize you're fully empowered to kind of have your own awakening and your own enlightenment, whatever way it comes to you, or whatever way you get to it. You happen to it. So I'm going to go a little bit longer, but I think we've lost the view for the night. It seems it's going to be Blobsville. Finish my last smoke with y'all, and maybe try again tomorrow. Again, let me know what you think that Chandrayaan-2, the ISRO lunar mission, doesn't have a single photo, and yet they somehow got into lunar orbit today. I don't know if anybody commented on that earlier, but Eat All Your Fish says, there should be a live stream from Mars by now, along with numerous observation satellites. Where is Google Mars? Well, there is Google Mars, and there is one observation satellite, what is it, the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter? But yeah, I think the moon first. I mean, for sure, there should be an American or US or whatever station, like lander, that's literally just a webcam. I mean a webcam. A camera with extremely high level technology with radiation shielding that could send back live footage to Earth. And it should become a very cheap rocket and a really cheap type of device that can be sent there. So not only do you send one, but you send a dozen to the moon, and they can create an entire full-on stream of Earth at any given time from the moon. I think that would be a huge deal, but we'll see if that happens. Right now we can't get anything on the moon, it seems. go in the chat. Let's see. Starlight Spectrum is saying, my journey of enlightenment embarked in 2016, and here I am now. Says, I grew up very religious and no longer am today. My spirit doesn't belong in that box. People are boring and lazy. That's the truth behind not being able to get back to our gorgeous satellite. I don't know if they're boring and lazy. I mean, some are, but I think the people who have the power to go back to the moon or to the moon for the first time, it's just a matter of finances and intention. And I was kind of pushing back on Shockwave yesterday about the will to go to the moon. Like, where's Will and who is Will? But really, it's just about, you know, people, citizens, or your average civilian, rather, can't build a rocket and send a satellite into space. So there are agencies and private companies that do this. But it seems like we have no say in what gets sent up. So that will that is being talked about in terms of the moon missions is simply has nothing to do with general population, civilian will. The same way it is with war. You know, the general population of America would probably rather not be in a war perpetually, but that doesn't matter. So it's the same thing with the moon missions, it seems to me. It has nothing to do with whether the civilian population finds it interesting or possible or wants to defund NASA, you know what I mean? But it definitely, you know, and tell me if I'm wrong, but it always has felt as if when articles are written, it's like, human beings suck. We can't fund NASA. We don't have the will. It's always like we. And I'm like, is that really correct? Does that make sense? Am I defunding NASA? You know, do I even have any wherewithal in terms of where my taxes go in terms of funding a space agency versus funding other operations? Throw me some thoughts. But, so I don't know if it's about Will and his goings on, and I don't think it's about whether or not civilians and taxpayers want to fund NASA. If they had a checkbox on the voting ballot, they'd probably say, you know, give NASA more money. I'm sure we've been indoctrinated with enough NASA's being defunded that most people would give any type of money they had to NASA at this point. So it's not about civilian money and will. And then the other thing is, if it's easy enough to say, well, we're at war with another nation, and we're going to go to the moon to prove them wrong or to posture, then you can easily go to the moon for profit, right? If you can go for just flexing, then you can certainly go and make a business of it. And then further, what else? Technology doesn't go backwards, so there's something really crazy about achieving moon landings and then not being able to a bunch of years later. So what else? And then there are these things where like the ISRO sends a very cheap rocket to the moon, or a rocket. They send a lander or a probe to the moon with NASA not saying a word about it, no other space agency having anything to do with it, and then they claim to be in lunar orbit with nobody double checking that, and no footage or no pictures, and it still goes by in the news as being news. It's insane. There's just no words to explain that feeling of just intense, either, you know, power that be just that the powers that be collude to write these insane articles to make you think you're going crazy. Because if you go and look up the Chandrayaan-2 mission right now, you'll see that it looks crazy. It looks like a bunch of insane people are claiming to have sent an object to the moon, to the fucking moon, which is a great distance away, and a great difficult, an incredibly difficult task, and yet there's no cross-checking, there's no peer review, there are no scientists discussing it, there's not a picture, there's no video, there isn't even a properly transcribed article that explains exactly what's happening right now. So how do we live in a system where people expect to actually go back and walk on the moon when you can't even get like half an answer from any space agency, let alone NASA? 24/7 says NASA is not the bad guy. They are merely the public face of what was once our leading space agency. They are only passing along what they are allowed to. Yeah, I don't know. I think we might have to disagree on this one, 24/7. I feel like there are a lot of good people that work at NASA. I think I know people who work at NASA who are good people. So it's not the people, I think. It's not even Jim Bridenstine. It could be Jim Bridenstine or whoever's running NASA at the time. But really, it's just a matter of, it's just the amount of money that goes into technology in the government. And look, it's not that 21 billion to NASA is pittance. It's a lot of money, you know. If the Indians can figure out if Indian space agencies can figure out rockets for 120 mil, then I'm sure the United States with its brilliant technology can match that. So $250 million, you don't need 20 billion to send a lander that can take photos. Can you imagine the kind of, here's a speculation. Let's say they send, we can send a lander there that's sending footage back. That live stream, if you had NASA representatives on a live stream where they were asking people for donations, they'd get millions of dollars, for months at a time, just by actually being transparent and actually achieving something publicly. Except it's all private. I don't think they're the bad guy necessarily. I just think all space agencies are controlled by the government and not by the people, is really my point. It's not about who's bad or good, specifically, I mean. Or they're all controlled by lizard people. Eat All Your Fish says, lizard people are psychopaths who can't create and they run shit. Crazy. I've seen theories like plasma cosmology, catastrophism theories, where it would make sense that if you were the select few people that survived a cataclysm where 90% of the population got wiped out, that somehow you would kind of retain this knowledge through the ages and pass it down through your family. We could have ended up here without human-animal hybrid, human-reptile, alien hybrid stuff. It could have just been, massive cataclysms that wiped out half the human race. Thanos got rid of everybody. I would bet that Thanos is probably a reference for Jupiter or a comet. And I don't think anyone's even referenced that Thanos is like the nose. They always do these, Marvel has like completely embedded plasma cosmology catastrophism in every movie, especially Thor. So I don't think any space agency necessarily is going to ever give the people what they want. Alright, let's leave the shape-shifting reptilian propaganda to rest. Yeah, I'm not a super big fan of that kind of rhetoric, I'll be honest. Like mixing and matching reptilians, it's very racist. I hate to call my regulars racist, but just because, you know, reptilian has been used to kind of identify different types of people, and I think it's stereotypical, and it's not really fair necessarily to label people that way. So I would urge y'all to not be so, you know, saying things are ugly as F. Like anybody could call you the same thing and you wouldn't like it. So I would refrain from that. Kimberly says royals are reptiles. I don't know. I think the whole reptilian thing is really misunderstood. Just the hot take on that is, you know, David Icke was given misinformation and started off a trend with this whole reptilian kind of theme, mix and match with Philip K. Dick, and all of a sudden you have these ridiculous stories about blood-drinking reptilian humanoids, but you don't need them to be reptilians to do all the things that you think they do. Eat All Your Fish is saying some pretty tough stuff. I guess that's all part of the mythos, right? Anyway, I'm leaving that one alone. Michael Wise, I thought the ancients told us that the last major cataclysm was Venus being birthed out of Jupiter's red spot, according to the electric universe also. I think that's one of them for sure, but I think many cataclysms have happened in the last like 5,000 years. There are a lot of not plot holes, but additional stories that are going to probably either emerge or be postulated from the basis of plasma cosmology and proto-Saturnian cosmology. If you check the links in my description, even, you know, some of the stuff that Kronos and see the pattern and electric universe eyes, the stuff that they're reading and talking about reference so many other theories that even Thunderbolts doesn't talk about. Yeah. Anyway, I think I'm toast for tonight, y'all. That's it. Not going to talk about the reptilian stuff. I'm out. I'm out. No more disclosure reptilian shit for me. I'm done. So I hope y'all have a great day tomorrow. I'll catch up with everyone real soon. Try and keep an open mind, you know, because you could be a reptile. Watch out. Isn't that the ultimate plot twist, right? You pull the skin off your arm and all of a sudden you're the actual reptile all along. Peace Bomb Dia, Peace Starlight, Peace Light Moon, Peace Eat, and 24/7, and Kimberly, and Ellie Wynn, of course, and Michael Wise, and Genghis Khan, and whoever else is hanging out tonight. Thanks again, everybody. Appreciate it. Be kind to one another and other people, even if you disagree with the shapes of their scales. But definitely, I don't support eating babies. All right, I'm out. Good night.